Have you ever seen someone smiling even when their world was quietly falling apart? Sometimes, heartbreak doesn't make a sound. It just sits there in the silence between breaths, in the spaces where hope used to live. And that's how Emily Carter's story began. It was a warm afternoon, sunlight pouring through the cafe windows like melted gold. Emily sat near the corner table, her wheelchair neatly positioned, her hands nervously brushing the edge of her scarf. Today wasn't supposed to feel this hard. Today was supposed to be different. She glanced at the clock. 2:15. 15 minutes late. She took a deep breath and tried to steady the small flutter of hope in her chest. Her first date in 5 years. 5 years since the accident. 5 years since everything changed. After losing her ability to walk, Emily had built tall, invisible walls around her heart. She had convinced herself that love wasn't something meant for people like her anymore. But when Daniel, a kind and witty man she met through an online book club, asked her out, something inside her dared to hope again. He had said all the right things. He had listened. He had made her laugh. And today she believed he might just make her believe in love again. But by 2:30, that laughter was just a memory. Her phone screen stayed dark. Her coffee grew cold. The little cafe, once warm and welcoming, now felt like a stage where she sat alone under a spotlight of pity. At 2:40, she sent a text. "Hey, are you still coming?" Nothing. At 3 o'clock, the truth started whispering, the kind of truth that hurts more because you've heard it before. Maybe he saw me outside. Maybe he changed his mind. Maybe it's always going to be like this. The waitress came over with a soft, careful smile. "Would you like me to warm that up for you?" Emily forced a small laugh. "No, thank you. I'm fine." But she wasn't fine. Every minute stretched like an hour. Every laugh around her cut a little deeper. Outside, people walked by, couples holding hands, kids chasing pigeons, someone strumming a guitar. Life went on, just not for her. She looked at her reflection in the glass. A woman in her early 30s, auburn hair flowing to her shoulders, blue eyes that once sparkled with dreams. Now, they just looked tired. But beneath the tiredness was something else. Something unbroken. Something quietly brave. And that's when a tiny, cheerful voice pierced the silence. "Daddy, can we sit here?" Emily turned. A little girl with curly brown hair stood beside her table, holding her father's hand. The man was tall, dressed in a black suit, his dark hair slightly tousled by the wind. He looked at Emily and smiled, genuine, kind. "I'm sorry," he said. "All the other tables are full. Would it be okay if we sit here?" Emily blinked, startled, but nodded. "Oh, yes, of course." The little girl climbed up onto the chair, swinging her legs. Her energy was like sunlight, bright and warm. "You're really pretty," she declared, grinning. "Daddy, she looks like the princess from my storybook." Emily chuckled. "Thank you, sweetheart. That's very sweet of you." The man laughed softly. "I think she means the one who saves herself." Something about his tone made Emily smile wider than she meant to. There was no pity in his voice. Only respect. "I'm Luke," he said. "And this is Sophie." "Emily," she replied. "Nice to meet you both." Soon, the waiter brought hot chocolate for Sophie and coffee for Luke. Emily sat quietly, unsure how to act. But Luke had an ease about him, a calmness that made her forget her awkwardness. They started talking. About books. About how Sophie loved to draw ducks that looked like potatoes. About how life never really went according to plan, but sometimes, it surprised you anyway. And for the first time that day, Emily laughed. Really laughed. It felt strange, but good. When Luke asked if she'd been waiting for someone, her smile faltered just a little. "I was," she said quietly. "But I guess he got busy." Luke's eyes softened. "Some people don't know how to show up for the right ones," he said. "That's not on you." Those words lingered in the air like music, gentle, steady, true. They spent almost 2 hours there, talking while Sophie drew little hearts on napkins and handed them proudly to Emily. She called them friendship tickets. When the cafe lights dimmed and the evening chill slipped in, Luke stood up. "Let me help you with the door," he said. She wanted to say no, that she could do it herself, but there was no judgment in his tone. Just kindness. Outside, the city hummed softly under the streetlights. Luke turned to her with a smile. "Maybe next time, I can buy you a coffee on purpose." Emily blinked, half smiling. "Next time." He grinned. "Sophie's already decided. She says you're coming to the park with us this weekend." Sophie tugged Emily's sleeve. "Please." And somehow, saying no didn't feel right anymore. "Okay," she said. The weekend arrived, painted with blue skies and soft winds. Emily almost cancelled 3 times. Her nerves tangled between excitement and fear. But when she reached the park, there they were, Luke and Sophie, waving from near the pond. Luke handed her a cup. "Decaf caramel latte." "I guessed." Emily laughed. "You guessed right." They spent the morning feeding ducks, throwing breadcrumbs into the rippling water. Sophie insisted on pushing Emily's wheelchair around the path, giggling the whole time. "You're my superhero car," she said proudly. Emily's heart swelled. It had been so long since she'd felt normal. Free. She forgot to hide the scars on her legs. She forgot to think about who might be staring. She just lived. The more she saw Luke, the easier everything became. He never treated her like she was fragile. He treated her like she was seen. One afternoon, while Sophie played on the swings, Emily asked, "Do you ever miss her?" "Sophie's mom." Luke nodded slowly. "Every day. She passed away when Sophie was 3. Sometimes, I think I've been surviving, not living." Emily's chest ached for him. "I know that feeling." He looked at her. "You lost someone too?" "In a way," she said softly. "After my accident, everyone I thought would stay, left. Friends, even family. I guess I wasn't easy to be around anymore. Luke's voice was quiet. Then they didn't deserve to stay. Silence hung between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was honest. As the weeks passed, something unspoken began to grow gentle, real, and terrifyingly beautiful. Luke started visiting her cafe more often. Sophie began calling her Emmy. And Emily started believing she could love again. One evening, they met at the same cafe where it all began. The lights glowed softly against the window, and the air smelled like cinnamon and coffee beans. Luke arrived late not because he forgot, but because he stopped to buy flowers. White lilies. Emily's favorite. He sat down, smiling nervously. "I was thinking," he began. "Do you believe in fate?" Emily raised an eyebrow. "Depends. Is fate the reason you and Sophie stole my table that day?" Luke laughed. "Maybe it was. Or maybe it was just life giving me a second chance to notice someone extraordinary." Emily blushed, unable to hide her smile. "That's a dangerous thing to say to a woman who's had coffee alone before." "I mean every word," he said softly. Their eyes met. And in that moment, the world seemed to pause. Sometimes, the people who walk in by accident are the ones meant to stay forever. Sophie appeared then, holding a paper heart she had cut herself. "It's for both of you," she said proudly. "Because you look happy together." Emily laughed through tears. "Thank you, sweetheart." Luke looked at Emily, his expression gentle but full of meaning. "She's right, you know. I am happy. For the first time in a long time." Emily's voice trembled. "So am I." They sat in silence for a while, no grand words, no promises. Just the quiet comfort of belonging. When Luke walked her home that night, the air was cool and still. Stars scattered across the sky like distant candles. Emily looked up and whispered, "Maybe the universe isn't cruel after all. Maybe it just needed me to sit at that cafe one more time." Luke smiled, taking her hand. "And maybe it needed me to walk in." And that's how Emily learned that being left behind isn't the end of your story. Sometimes, it's the beginning of something even better. Because life has a strange way of fixing what's broken, not by erasing the pain, but by bringing people who know how to love you through it. And if you ever find yourself sitting alone, wondering why life keeps leaving you waiting, remember Emily. Remember that somewhere, someone's story hasn't begun yet. Because it's waiting to collide with yours.